Well, hello, folks. Uh, Back here for another guitar lesson for everybody. Uh, Christian doesn't Christian doesn't have any snow in the south of France. Well, much to the chagrin of your daughter, and well, I'll tell you something. I wish I was there. I just shoveled out I don't know how many feet of snow from our driveway. It's just kind of crazy. Andreas, hello. Andreas from Germany is here. We have Christian from France. You'd be anything to be in South France. Yes. Ralph, hello. And Paul's J Music is he'd give anything to be in the south of France. I guess I would too, considering the weather. At least a little warmer now, and some of it's starting to melt. And I think if this continues, uh, it will be all melted by July. Uh, Rudy, snow also gone here. Okay. Timmy, no snow here. Of course, Timmy, you're in California. That's pretty good. Mike only had 10 to 12 in Lancaster. We beat you, Mike. We had about 18 to 24 over here. So there's it's a bit. Anyway, I'm glad you all came out to take the lesson. Today we're going to do Stack of Lee Blues. And in the chat there is a link where you can download the tab for today's lesson. And right above me here, there's the download link, tinyurl.com/Toby Walker. This week, I'm going to be giving away some things back to you for your donation. As I always do, for $5, you're going to get a recorded this recorded session. I'm going to put it into YouTube. It'll be unlisted, so not just anybody can get it. And I'll be sending you that YouTube link that gets the entire session, so you won't miss a thing. And I think for $15, you'll get that. Plus, I'm going to be giving you a recording, digital recording of a live concert that I did. I was on the bill with people like Sonny Landreth. That was something. And a local guy named Kerry Carney, incredible guitar players. And that was a fun gig. That was live at the Brookhaven Labs. So I'm going to send you that as well. And then for $20, you're going to get those two things. So it's just another extra $5. And I'm going to send you a set of lessons that I put together that I taught at the Fur Peace Ranch. The Fur Peace Ranch is operated by Vanessa and Jorma Kaukkonen of Hot Tuna. And one year I came in there and I started teaching a class called Hot Turbo Tuna, in which I took the songs that Jorma had played, Wine and Boy Blues, Hesitation Blues, 99-Year Blues, a few of the others like that, and I turboized them. I added a whole bunch of things to them. So that's a set of video lessons, and that's for only $20. And then the last thing is everything I've ever put out, and every month I'm putting out a new set of lessons, but everything I've ever put out is going to be yours. You'll get a whole year's access to every lesson I've ever done. And there's now it's like something like 470 something instructional videos with the tab, and you'll have access to everything. And that's usually it's $125 for the year, but only here on this channel I'm giving it for $60 for your donation. And you can get all that information at the donate tab, which is just, with the donation link, which is just tinyurl.com/Toby Walker. So now we got that commercial out of the way. Stack of Lee Blues is something it was one of the first songs I ever heard from Mississippi John Hurt. And I believe I heard it on a compilation LP put out by Paul Oliver called The Story of the Blues. And I remember listening to this and thinking, wow, what a great tune that was. And then I found out a whole bunch of other people did all kinds of versions of it. And I'm going to be teaching Stack of Lee Blues to you. When I sing it, I usually play it with the capo, but I'll be teaching it without the capo. But I'm just going to give you a little demonstration of the things that I do with it, and I'm going to show you certain things that you can do with it. So again, you can download the tab while I'm playing this, and here we go. Yeah, it was late at night. I thought I heard my bulldog bark. He was barking at two men. They were gambling in the dark. One was a bad man. Yeah, the bad man Stagger Lee. You know Billy Lyons and Stagger Lee. Two men gambling late. Billy Lyons threw down a 7. Stack he swore was an 8. He's the bad man. Yeah, the bad man Stagger Lee. Yeah, Stacker Lee was mad. He says, I ain't gonna take anymore. He reached underneath the table. He come back up with a 44. He's a bad man. Yeah, the bad man Stacker Lee. So that's just the my way of playing it. And the first solo I took is what I'm also going to be teaching you. A question: why don't you? I asked you a long time. Why don't you put the lyrics right into the sheets? And there's no copyright issue with that. I mean, this is just a traditional song, and verses are always changing. But there's a lot of work in putting all those lyrics in. So I would say, what you call it? You're very well, madam. Yes, I know you, Sue. You're very welcome. So you can get these lyrics online. You know, they're right online. And otherwise, you know, it takes a lot of work for me to actually put in the lyrics in every little section because the lyrics change all the time. I change the lyrics around a lot. So at any rate, I hope that is a suffice answer for you. So anyway, let's take it. You should have your tab by now. And in the chat right in there at the top, there should be a link for you to download the tab for today's lesson. So let's take a look at this now. I'm going to take the capo off. For Stacker Lee, the way that Mississippi John Hurt played it, and the way I'm going to be teaching it, we're in drop D tuning. And the only thing that you have to remember for drop D tuning is you're going to take your 6th string and you're going to drop it down, tune it down a whole step to a low D. So that's the only change. Everything else remains the same. All right, so you're going to tune your guitar down, get that low D in there. So if we're looking at our tab, it actually starts out with a little hammer on. And the alternating bass, you know, I play a lot of alternating bass between the 6th and the 4th string. I tend to do that. But so you can also play it with the 6th and 5th string. And that's pretty much what we have in the tab here. It's the 6th and 5th string. And we're going back and forth like this. Now, I start out with my D chord, but I'm going to pick up my 2nd finger because I want to actually get a little hammer on here. So we have this in the very first measure. That's the first measure. And we have learning to sing while playing is an interesting workshop. I find it challenging. Christian, yeah, it can be. And what you kind of have to do is you have to, sometimes when I'm singing, I'm not doing the exact thing while I'm playing here. I may just I may change it around a little bit while I'm singing, but if you want to play the exact thing, okay, as you're singing, you really have to kind of think about where your syllables fall into where the lick is. So that'll kind of help you out a little bit, It's a little difficult to do it. I would suggest just playing, play this part, play that part in the beginning without vocals, and then when you're just playing the song, just do like a little pattern, that you can just keep repeating over and over again, and then sing it a whole lot like that. And then once you get comfortable with singing, then you can try and put in the arrangement in there. That's my way of doing it anyway. If I found it difficult. So I hope that answered your question, Christian. So again, we have this hammer on, and we're doing it for the first two measures the exact same way. So we have, and then I'm going to repeat that. Just like that. Now in the next measure, it's a little bit different. In the next line, we're actually going to hit this bass, and then I'm going to hit the open string by itself. And as I come down with my second finger, my thumb is coming down on the fifth string. So that could be a little tricky. So you have to kind of coordinate. You don't want to pick that note twice. You want to just let it flow like that. So I'm going to play that now, that second line, first bar. So here we have it. Then I get that second string in there. And then I do the original pinching the two open strings and hammering. So we have this. And we just finish it up with that. So the second line should sound like this. Now we're going to be going into our G7 chord, and the way I'm going to be playing this G7 is I could set it up. We don't need our third finger here, because that's no longer going to be a G note. That's actually an F note here, because we've dropped it down. So I'm just going to put down my first two fingers on the B note and on the F note, a little bit of a G7 here. I'm going to be alternating now between my fifth and my fourth string, and I'm going to be adding my pinky onto the second string at the third fret. So we have this sound. Those are those two bars. So let's go over those bars, nice and slowly. We get a pinch, alternating bass, and then pinky down. And after I hit that last fourth string, I'm going to come up and grab that second string. So I have. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and like that. Now I go into the next measure, and here it's going to sound like this. So here we just get bass, D note, and two more bass notes. So I was going to play that third line now. It would sound like this. And then we come into our, finally get that fourth line where we have, so we have a little hammer on there. And then finally back into a D chord. And then we're back into our alternating bass with the sixth and our fifth string rather. So that fourth line will sound like this. And finally, to finish this off, we're going to get our A chord. Our A chord is going to be playing with our first finger barred across the first four strings, and our pinky all the way out and grabbing that high A note. Now my alternating bass is going to go between the fifth and fourth string, and I'm going to be grabbing my third string. Okay, I use my index finger to grab that, and my middle finger is going to grab the first string. So this measure is going to sound like this. Get that little alternating bass and that note that comes in between. A pinch, alternating bass, back, and then right after that, come up with your middle finger on the A. So we have, and then two more bass notes. So we have, and then the next measure is, so now we're bringing into an A7 chord. Bass, pinch, bass, move the finger, bass. So we have, and that line all together with the A chord sounds like this. And then finally, we get back to our D chord, which is just, so grabbing the first and second string here. So I'm going to do is I'm going to play this whole thing all the way through very slowly. And, you know, as you're working through this, you're working through each part, and then you'll be able to hear all the parts come together. So here it is very slowly. So before we get to the second page, I also did a thing as I was performing this. I was doing something with a different way of playing a G chord. This isn't in the tab, but as you're following along, I put my third finger up here on the sixth string, fifth fret, and that's my G note. So that's my G note here, and it leaves my pinky and my first finger to do all kinds of things. And sometimes I would do this, alternating the bass between the sixth and fourth string, and I would go get my pinky right out there on that sixth fret, and I could move that back and get that first finger down on the D note. So sometimes I'll do this, and I may even add my second finger to grab that B note. So I may go, and then go back to my D chord. So that's another option, you know, for your G chord. You know, and you could do a lot of other little things with that, just like this. I mean, we're alternating the bass. Your first finger can really kind of move around here, getting that B flat note, the open B, the D, open E, and the G. You can even syncopate it. Bass, B flat note, pick it up, fourth and second. Put down your first finger on the D, pick it up and hit the open E, and then the G. You could add the F in there. So there's a lot of little things that you can do with that little particular shape. So that's a good thing to experiment with. All right. Any questions so far? Because I can see all your chats right in there. And Christian had some good tips on, I guess, on singing. Yeah, you could. I'm glad you saw those tips. That's how I do it, Christian. At any rate, so that's the basis of what Mississippi John Hurt's doing it. And of course, he plays it very quickly. Like. He plays that very quick if you listen to the recording. The original recording, 1928, you can hear that. It's really flying. But you don't necessarily have to play it that fast. You can play it in a nice, relaxed pace. So once we have that first part of Stackerly Blues, and, for the most part, that's what you would normally learn in a lot of the instructional stuff that's out there. But you know me now, I love to teach how you can really expand on it a little bit. So that first solo that I took, that's what I'm going to teach you. And that'll be found on the second page of your tab that says Stackerly Extras. These little extra things that you can put in there. So I'm going to play this Stackerly Extras page for you. And then I'm going to show you what I'm doing and what I was thinking when I was doing this. And then we'll really get into it. So here's the second page. And in this second page, I am going back and forth at times between my sixth and fourth string. So here's how the second page is going to sound. So let's tackle this one, shall we? For the D chord here, instead of fingering it here, I wanted to do it like this. So I'm actually getting my A note, my B note, and my D note together. And that first measure here sounds like this. And, this little has a lot of this song has a very major pentatonic type feel to it, and that's where this little lick comes into. We play the A, the B, and the D. So that's where I got that idea from, just kind of putting in something a little different. And in the second measure, we just syncopate it a little bit. So instead of going, we do this. So that second measure sounds like this. Pinch. Now, the reason I like doing little things like this in that way is if you play a little lick, it helps to maybe change the lick around a little bit the next time you play it. So the first time it's familiar, first time you're playing it's, yeah. And then the second time it's still familiar, but it adds a little variety to it. So, you could do all kinds of things. You can do a lot of little things with that little position. so that it could lend itself to all kinds of creative little functions in there. So let's take a look at the next one, and I'm going to show you what I was thinking in this next line. In this next line, I go. There's a lot going on in there. Did you say the notes in the first measure are from the pentatonic scale? Yes, it's the, I'm sorry, Sue, it's the major pentatonic scale. So a major pentatonic scale, in this case, in the key of D, would be D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. And then it goes right back into the D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, yeah, so it's D, E, F sharp, G. So you get that 1, 2. Okay. It's the first one, the D, the second one, and the third. So we got 1, 2, 3. And then 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. 1, 2, 3. And then this is your next note, the 5, the 6, and then the D. So that's basically the major pentatonic, the way it's played. So I'm using those little notes in there. And the reason I say it by digits is so you can transpose that to any other key. Just remember 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. And that's where that little thing comes from in there. So if we take a look at now that second line, I did another little variation. And then I went. Now I'm bringing that note back to a C, which is suggesting a D7. Okay, and the reason I did that is because I'm leading into my G chord. And sometimes when you're using a little seventh chord to lead into your G chord, or in this case, a D7 to the G, theoretically, it's the G chord, it's a 5 to 1. So a D7 would be the 5 of the G. And that's a nice little. So it creates a little tension when you do that. And then there's the resolution. So that's kind of good to put into your playing. But I do something else in that second measure on the second line. I'm leading now into my B note, which is part of the G7 chord. So that little, there's part of a G7 chord, and that's just a little walking bass line to get into that. So we have so far in that second line, we have. And now we're going into our third line with the G7. Rusty, you made it. Yes. And yes, Madam X-Wing, you're very welcome. Rusty's here. Great. And Rusty subscribed at Tier 1. Yes, you could subscribe to my Twitch channel, and that also helps me as well. So you can always subscribe to that. I'm glad you're here, Rusty. So now let's take a look at that third line, the first bar, because here we're doing something really kind of fancy. A lot of little things going on in here. So let's take this very carefully, okay? We have our G7 set up like this with our first finger and our pinky and our second finger. But here now, with my right hand, my index finger is going to stay on the second string. And my middle finger is going to be on the first string. So I can get all kinds of little movements like this. So let's take a look at this. Let's do it beat by beat. The first beat is just one end. The second beat, I'm bringing down my middle finger and I'm going to grab the fourth string, pinch it with the first finger, and then bring in my first finger onto that, pinch it with the middle finger and thumb, and bring in my first finger. So we have the first beat, then now the next beat is just going to be, we're going to pick up our first finger, pinch the fifth string, and then put down the first finger. So we have. Now, what's interesting is I'm going to be pulling that up. So that's a tricky little move. Let's take a look at that second, the third and fourth beat in that bar. Very slowly. So I'm pulling this off, but I'm starting the pull off on the upbeat. Right there. And as I pull my finger across that string, as it comes off, you're coming down with the fourth string. So it's like that. And then getting your pinky. So that measure all together, played nice and slowly. So it takes a lot of practice to get that little thing in there, but work on that. Into the second measure on that third line, we have just like that. Yes, so that's right. Pull-offs are really scrape-across. And she pointed that out. You want to scrape across the top of the string rather than just pull off of it. You get a stronger sound by scraping your callus across the top of that string. That's right. Yeah, good for reminding me that I had pointed that out in the last lesson. So here's that third line now. I'm sorry. There we go. Now let's take a look at the fourth line. Here, what I wanted to do was get a little bit of the blues in there. And I wanted to get away for the time being by just playing this cool little single line. And sometimes if you throw in a single line somewhere, and break it away from the alternating bass, it's like, oh, it's a nice little pleasant surprise. So that's what my thinking was here. And here, that measure is going to sound like this. So we have this blues note, which is in the key of D. It's the F, which would be the third but flatted. And I'm giving a scrape across, but here I'm setting it up, and it's important to understand this when you have like a pull off or a scrape across. You want to set both fingers on the string so you're ready to get that second note. A lot of people sometimes do this. They put their second finger up, put both of them down, and like that. And I'm doing this all with my thumb now. And then open fourth string. Then I come in, grab my B note, and then the open fourth string again. So I have. Now I'll finish it off with, I'm going to come in and grab that F note again. and hammer onto an F sharp. And then finally open D. So we have, so now all together it's going to sound like this. I'm sorry. There we go. And then it comes back into. So I have this. So now when we get into our A7 chord, I'm playing it basically like my third finger's on the C sharp. Got the open first string, the open third, and my second finger's on that fourth string at that second fret. So here I decided to do just a little variation using the notes that were available to me in this open position. Okay, so I would have this. So I'm getting that open second string. Again, my index finger is playing that second string, and my middle finger is taking care of the first. So I have, put it down my finger, then pinch, then open, and then pinch. You notice I'm picking up my third finger because I got to get that open string again. Then we go into the next part of the A7. So we have this pinky out to the G, and I'm alternating between the fifth and fourth string for the A chord. So I have, then bring it back, open. So we get that little A7 lick. So before we get into the last note in that measure, you're wondering, what is that one on that F notes? I'll show you what that's going to be. It's a great little lick. But here's that last second to last line. And now we're going to do this. It's a nice, cool little lick to put in at the end. So let's take a look at this. It starts on the upbeat, and then you're going to come in on the downbeat. So it's da 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 da, moving my first finger up from the F over to the F sharp. Now I get my D note in there, open B, and the A. So we have. And sometimes I'll alternate my first and second finger to grab this. Sometimes I won't. It just depends on what kind of works out. Then I have a little pull off. So I have. And then a little hammer. Like that. So we have. And then an open A, and then a little hammer on. So that's how I'll end that. Yeah, you could, you definitely could on the third line first measure. You could use your alternating. I'm using my thumb only to pick on that first, on the third line too. So I have on that third. Or do you mean the fourth line? Because here, I think you may have meant that one. Yeah, you could definitely use your thumb and first finger in there. There's no hard and fast rule here. You can go back and forth with your thumb and your first finger. Absolutely. Yeah, I got it. Fourth line. Yeah, you could do that. Sometimes I'll just use my thumb in there, but if it's really speedy, you know, I'm gonna go alternating bass between the two in there. So that's what I'll do. Now, this is maybe just a little bit more advanced, but I wanted to kind of give you an idea of what I was doing in all that other improvisations. This isn't in the tab, but this you'll use the video for this. A lot of times, what I will do when I'm improvising, I played lead guitar, electric guitar. I still do, but I mean, I played in bands for so long, so many different bands and so many different gigs that I had a good knowledge of lead guitar, and I used my thumb and my finger. I would use these two instead of a flat pick. I would use my thumb and my first finger a lot. But I had an idea of phrasing single lines, and I decided way back then too that it would be kind of cool if I can work in an alternating bass and then kind of put in those lines. I teach a couple of courses called, it's available on my website, Band in Your Hand and More Band in Your Hand. It's really like putting a band in your hand, alternating bass and single line lead licks. And that's what I was doing a lot in the beginning of the video. And a lot of that using that major pentatonic scale. So I would like improvise a little bit with it. And every now and then I would throw in a blues note, the F to the F sharp. And I may even do a little half step bend to get the D in there, the C note, which in the blues it would be in the key of D, a flat 7, in this case a C. And I also have, sometimes I'll go into here, I would get, so I would also have a major pentatonic thing going in here, D. So I get that D note, B, A, F sharp, E, D. Sometimes I'll throw in, I'll get that little 4, the G to the F sharp. And I also was doing the same little pentatonic. So there's another way of playing the D major pentatonic. It's just the D, E. I use my second finger here because I'm going to move up to the F sharp. And that puts me in the position to grab the rest of the notes. So there's my E note in there, and I may bend that up because I'm in the middle of the neck here, middle of the guitar, so it's a little easier to push that note up. So I'll improvise using the major pentatonic, And I may even just use a blues, a minor pentatonic. So I may use that D, the F, the G, the A, the C, and the D. In the minor pentatonic, it would be the 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, and back to the root. So I may do little things like that. There was another little thing that I did with a G chord. What strings do you use to accomplish those easy bends? They're just 12 gauge. They're 12 gauge strings. They're Natherers. I use Diodario phosphorus bronze. I think these are Diodario phosphorus bronze coated. But I endorse Diodario strings. I've been using Diodario strings since 1974. And at that time, they were called Darko New York. That's what they were called back then. But the Diodario is the company that puts them out. I've always used their strings. But anyway, that's a. And again, there's another thing that I did with a G chord in this tuning, which is kind of cool. We have this, I show you, and we have this. But now, this is a cool little way of playing against a G chord. I have my first finger barred across all 6 strings. That gives me a G in the bass here and a G in the bass here. And I also get a D in there too. So I can go back and forth with these strings. But I also get to play, this is a little part of a G7 chord. Now, that's just a D7 shape. Okay, instead of these 3 fingers, I'm using these 3 fingers. And I just kind of move it up and then put my first finger down on the 4th string to accompany. So there's my G7. So I'm going to bar here, and I have a whole bunch of these little notes to kind of play with. I can even get like. So that gives me a lot of little options when I'm playing against the G7. So there's a lot of little things you can do with that against that little G7. So you have options with all of these things. The reason I like to be very creative with this stuff is it takes a long time to memorize an entire arrangement. I do it, but I have a lot more fun when I'm improvising. And the best way to accomplish improvising is to basically take a little idea like this and see if you could just play with the notes. Take a few notes, get the alternating bass thing going, and just try to and then maybe play it on the beat, syncopate it, and just work with just a few notes to see how that works out for you. I find that that's what I do. I may take an idea and I just may go with it a little bit. And I would say that, start out with just a few notes. That's all you need to start creating a cool lick, and just experiment it, back and forth with your fingers. At any rate, uh, uh, folks, there again, I'll just put, if it's not in there, you could always download the tab. This tab is going to be up there. I'm going to put the link in here for you if you didn't get the tab. The tab is always going to be at that address. It's on my Toby Walker's lessons site, and it's at the tiny URL right above there. Toby Walker tab, tinyurl.com/Toby Walker tab. You could download the tab. This will be up there for 4 or 5 days. And with the donations, I'll put that little link that you can just click on it if you want to, but the link is just above my left shoulder. And here's the little donation thing. Anything that you could donate is really going to help me out because, again, like a lot of my friends and fellow musicians, we're all out of work. So we have to come up with other ways to support ourselves, and this is one of the ways that I do it. But I give things back to you. If you click on that link, you're going to see all the things that I give to you in return to say thank you, for what you help me with. And again, just quick, for $5. I'm going to send you, it'll be tomorrow morning because I have to upload the YouTube video. And that's when I send out everything. I'm going to give you a YouTube video that's unlisted, only you get it. For $5, you get the entire session here to add to your tab. For another $10, $15, I'm going to send you that and it's a concert. It's a live performance I did at the Brookhaven Labs on Long Island in New York, and it was my set, all recorded, and it was called Gathering of the Slides. So I do a lot of slide guitar work on this performance, and other people on the bill was Sonny Landreth and Kerry Carney. Add another $5 to that, you get all of that. Plus, I'm going to send you a whole set of lessons I call Hot Turbo Tuna. And that's taking about 5 songs that Yorma does, and I just added a lot of other ideas to them. And all of that is notated in tab, and there's instructional videos with every one of those songs. So that's only $20 plus everything else. And the big kahuna is for $60, you're going to have a year's access to every lesson I ever put out. And there's a lot of stuff that I put out that's not available even on my paid for lessons site. There's other little things in there too, a lot of little things. Plus I put the concerts up, I put concert workshops up. I have a whole gallery of old vintage cool guitars that I also, including this one, 1930 National. So I put all that up. And finally, the last thing I want to tell, you're very welcome, Sue. Thank you. The very thing I'm going to tell you is at 7 o'clock in my studio, I'm going to be tonight, 7 o'clock at Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be putting on a full concert. Matter of fact, I have some of the songs I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing Little Martha by the Allman Brothers, my arrangement of it with all kinds of lead guitar things in there. I'm going to be doing Embryonic Journey by Yorma. I'll be doing Buck Dance by Reverend Gary Davis, Cannonball Rag by Merle Travis, Kind-Hearted Woman by Robert Johnson. I'll be doing that one. Cincinnati Flow Rag, another one by Gary Davis. I'm going to be improvising on some blues tunes. I'm going to be doing a really cool arrangement by Tom. It was written by Tom Turpin. It's a piano arrangement it's an arrangement called Smoky Mokes. And then I'm going to be taking out this guitar and playing some slide guitar on it, doing some Elmore James and Boogie Woogie Dance by Tampa Red. And I'm also going to be putting in my arrangement of Shady Grove. So I'm going to make the guitar sound like a slide guitar, but I'm also going to be making it sound like a banjo, all on that guitar. So that's going to be cool. That's at 7 p.m. tonight, Eastern Standard Time. Same Twitch channel. So I hope you can join me with that. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Every Thursday, Uh, matter of fact, Sue, the video is always up of the concert. It's always going to be up on my Twitch channel. So I leave the concerts up there, so you can always catch it there. Or a thing about Premier membership is I put all of those concerts on the Premier membership as well, so that you can get a copy of that concert. You're very welcome, Mike. You're very welcome, Ralph. Sue, you're very welcome too. Thanks so much for tuning in. Every Thursday I do this at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I give a guitar lesson with tab included, and at 7 p.m. I do a little concert. And I always like, if you come into the concert, say stuff in the chat. It's always nice because I don't get people clapping. It's so strange. But if I see you in the chat, it's always cool to see in the chat. Rudy, you're very welcome. Andreas, you're very welcome. Rudy's in, I think, Switzerland, and Andreas is in Germany. I'm pretty sure I got that right. Christian is out in France. So I'm really glad. I love to see my new friends and old friends. It's always good to see you folks. And coming up in this month, a new set of lessons I'm going to be putting together is Slide Guitar Power #2. So there's all kinds of slide guitar things. Where do you send the Grand Prix? Just go to the donation site. Okay, don't go to that donation. It's right in the chat. I'll put it in there again. Grand Prix here. There's Grand Prix. That's it. If you click on that, that's the donation site. You can donate the $60, and I will send you your membership. Christian, you're Swiss? Okay. What do I know? You're from France now. Okay. Annabibs. Oh, okay. You're very welcome. And Grand Prix, thank you so much. You're very welcome. I love doing this stuff. I was I was born to perform and born to teach. This is my passion in life, folks, is teaching the blues and ragtime and performing it. Just passing on what I know, as much as I know, to as many people as I can. And I just love doing this stuff. My man in Nazareth, Snowberry Nazareth. You got it. Concert. Telno on concert, okay. What's that, Rudy? I don't know what you meant by that. Can you explain that? Telno on concert, okay. I don't know. Grand Prix, yes. You have 1 year. There's 1 year access to every lesson I've ever put out. Literally every. There is so many lessons on there. There's so many songs, individual songs that you could learn too. And there's all kinds of. There's a thing called it's like a weekly workshop that I put out for a whole year, and every week I was giving you these really cool little short little lessons, 10-minute lessons or so that pack a big punch. That's in there too. And the Twitch lessons, every lesson that I teach here, the entire video, that's up on the Premier membership site. Everything's up on the Premier membership site. You know, you're talking to Christian there. Anyway, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm gonna go. I got a bunch of other things. Taxes are due, so I have to kind of get into that right now. And walking my dog, Charlie. So at any rate, folks, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I will be back here in a few hours, and I'm going to be doing some more stuff. So I'm just glad everybody had a good time. And folks, here we go. And I'm going to